and welcome back to Cinema Scrutiny. Another episode, another week in the books.
Hmm.
I would say a bit of a historic week after this one. We got a
Yeah.
couple videos for you guys this week, couple reviews, just good old classic reviews. I'm your host Billy, as always, with my co-host John.
Yep. Honestly, Bill, it is a actually very historic week for what I would call, either home media or like streaming, and especially for superheroes. I feel like, Friday was a big blowout, or I guess it was Thursday, Friday, just the whole weekend.
Yeah,
You know.
definitely. I mean, I think for filmmakers in general, like with this video, we're going to talk about the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League.
Mhm.
Uh, just full disclosure, we're going full spoiler. If you haven't seen it, uh, go get HBO Max or find a way to watch it online. I don't know,
Yeah. The
uh, but
spoiler-free
I would
part,
recommend
very quick. Yeah, it's worth it. Recommend it.
100%, 100% recommend it. I understand HBO Max may be expensive for some people. Uh, you know, Maybe try to get the free trial. Support the project. It's a good project to support.
Mhm.
Um, and we'll get into more of that. But historic week for filmmakers in general, and I think that message kind of got diluted over the course of the year of this being announced. Uh, you know, a lot of people were saying, this is a big milestone. This is coming out. It's big. It's big. And I think that kind of got lost in translation until the film finally arrived here last week. Uh, the hype building and such. I think people finally got to saw it, and I think where expectations were exceeded so much, it was like, damn, this is really the difference. Like letting the filmmaker, you know, get their hands dirty and really get into the project.
Yeah, I mean, it
Um,
really was night and day. I mean, I guess let's talk about very quickly, like the original, the Whedon cut or the theatrical cut of the film.
the Justice League.
Yeah, like what was your initial score of Justice League, and what would you say this Zack Snyder cut gets, like right off the bat, and then we'll jump into some specifics.
Off the bat, the Justice League I would have given like a 4 or 5,
Hmm.
somewhere in that range. I was really disappointed with it, and I had high hopes because on the surface level, just having Joss Whedon and his track record jump onto the project after Zack Snyder's tragic history with the project happen. I could only be optimistic going into it, and it ended up being big disappointment. Um, but now seeing the Snyder cut, um, I would definitely. I honestly, I want to give it a 9, but I think I'm gonna land around an 8 with it.
Hmm.
Um, it was just you could see the skeleton of the screenplay is there in the Justice League,
Hmm.
uh, and then you watch the Snyder cut, and it's like it's the full body of the project. So it was pretty incredible. It was pretty incredible. Is what I can say on a surface level.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. I think that the original Justice League theatrical cut was very random, sporadic, and kind of just absolutely collapsed under itself.
Mm,
It didn't really have like a coherent narrative. It had a lot of weird extra scenes, or at least new scenes from shot by Whedon that I don't think really brought the movie together in any interesting way. The Snyder cut, definitely, I would agree with you. It's like a very hard 8 for me.
hmm
I think there's a lot of great stuff here. I think that Zach and HBO probably Zach specifically, got a little too carried away with like this being the director's cut, so he's gonna put every single shot that he took in it.
Sure.
Like I think there's definitely at least an hour of this film that is like not needed or is kind of like
Yeah.
wasted time, just wasted time really.
hmm
And there's still a lot of problems and weird jumps, but we will we'll talk about it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think I definitely agree. After when I was fresh off of it, after I sat the whole 4 hours and watched it. Just
Mhm.
went straight for it. Uh, and it was I was totally happy. I was like I couldn't believe it. Like I couldn't believe the changes. I couldn't believe what was added. But there was definitely still some issues there.
Yeah.
I think just to get into it. I know a lot of people were talked about the music here and there.
Mm.
I thought for the most part, the majority of the music was pretty good and fitting well. But there were definitely some spots where I thought about the scene with Aquaman and Batman with like
Oh,
uh, the village like singing about Aquaman leaving, and then
you know,
the lady picks up his shirt and smells. I was like, what is going on? It was too long.
that
It
scene
was like
is
an
way
awkward
too
length.
long. And the worst part is that scene is basically like the first new scene from, I mean, obviously like the actual intro is different, but to me that's like the first like noticeable like change to an existing scene, I guess. Like they just
Sure.
extended that scene. Uh, and immediately like that was also it's like 20 minutes into the film. And I was
Yeah.
like literally out loud, I was like, "Oh my god, they like what are we doing?" Like they fucked up. Cuz it is
that
such a waste of time. It is so cringy.
It's kind of crazy because that scene got botched in both versions. I feel like because I remember in the Whedon version, they he cut that last part out where they sang as he went into the water,
Yeah.
and he put in like it's it's an incredibly like that they shot that thing on a green screen, and like Jason Momoa looks totally different,
It's
and
like
it's like a jarring cut, like cut back to him, and it's like what the fuck did they just do?
yeah, and
Like
then you like David Hasselhoff's in the SpongeBob movie. he like he
yeah.
like turbo jets away.
Yeah, so I understand that move on Joss Whedon's part, but it was also poorly done. So like, it still kind of fell flat. But
Yeah.
that was definitely the first misstep for me uh, in this version. But
I think
uh,
it's very tonal of the music as a whole though. Like instead of having any of like, for instance, like the Justice League theme song for lack of a better term from the actual theatrical cut that's
yeah,
like really intense, like a hardcore Mad Max guitar riff.
yeah,
They never bring that back, and it's like all this like ethereal godlike chanting, which I get it because Snyder's like the Justice League, they are the gods of Earth.
right,
But at the end of the movie, when it's like supposed to be this super badass moment where like Wonder Woman drops down and she's trying to fight Steppenwolf, and it just starts playing this really kind of boring, for lack of a better word, like God music instead of like it's time to fucking kick some ass music. There were a lot of all the music choices were really weird,
yeah.
but it's
I
not like
I def-
super important.
yeah. I mean, I think it was interesting the Whedon version. He brought in Danny Elfman to get a lot of the classic themes back from
Mm-hmm.
like older content, which I thought was an interesting move. And I understand Zack Snyder's standpoint on a lot of like this universe, the God aspect, and I totally get the direction he was trying to go with
Mm-hmm.
the Aquaman scene. Because you have to imagine these villagers worship him because he brings food to them in times when they can't get the food.
Yeah.
So like I get it. You know what I mean? I understand what he's trying to do. However, it just didn't work. It just didn't work for that scene.
No, it doesn't really work in any of the scenes if we're being honest. Maybe like the Wonder Woman stuff.
Yeah, I think it
But
works sometimes. At least like the Wonder Woman stuff kind of works. The Superman theme is still there, and
yeah,
I always think the Superman theme worked. Um, but yeah, like it didn't hit the mark
like I
as
think the
always.
Flash, like obviously, I guess if we keep moving along, this like the 2 hour opening of this film, which is
Mm,
like establishing all the characters. The the newly released opening of the film for the Flash.
yeah.
I thought like the music in that was in a sense kind of funny, but I thought that was so stupid. And he's just like slowly watching everything, and like wieners are flying around.
Oh yeah, when he saves Iris West and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and like it's like really like are we
yeah.
we're
I think
gonna
that's the next issue with the cut is that there's a lot of slow mo. You sent something earlier to me today about like 10% of the movie
yeah.
is in slow motion.
That is actually true.
Um,
According to IGN, they had somebody go back and watch the entire cut again. 24 minutes
yeah,
are in full slow mo, which, granted, the Flash scenes are all slow mo, but there's also just in general a lot of slow motion shots.
yeah. I think, and that's something Zack Snyder does a lot. If you go watch 300 or Watchmen,
Hmm.
there's a lot of slow mo stuff, and I felt like this movie had a lot of those same themes, like that Zack Snyder usually falls back to, like the slow motion.
Yeah.
Some of the music choices are like you get actual lyrics in the songs, and it's like, oh my god, like why are we just like sitting in this like this like opera house right now, or like
Yeah.
we have a full like song that's like remixed or covered or whatever.
Mm.
Um, but that's like his thing on some stuff. I mean, I thought the Flash scene where he saves her for the most part was cool. Um, but it was definitely like a little too long. Like with most of the slow mo shots, I think it's some of them just felt very like dragged out.
Yep.
Um, and like to me, like in my mind, the way I worked it out was like I think Zach was trying to pull something off where he's it's like he's trying to make a moving like portrait of like a god. You know what I mean? Like if you
Yeah.
go to a museum and see like old paintings of like gods and such, it feels like he's trying to make that like a motion piece of art. And like I get that, like that makes sense to me. But also it's like we can keep moving. We don't have to. We don't. I don't want to say dwell, but we don't have to sit here and watch the Flash pick a wiener out of the out of the sky. And I guess it worked because like he gets back into the shop and he gives it to the dogs. It
Yeah.
it lines up. But in the moment, you're like, what? But
Yeah, no, it was super weird. I mean, but I agree with you completely about that's what he's trying to do with like the slow mo shots, especially the scene where they're resurrecting Superman. He touches the cube like the creation of Adam, like the picture where like God and like Adam are like touching fingers,
yes,
and
yes,
it's like God's got that like limp hand kind of vibe.
right,
But he like comes down, and he just like touches just the thing. It was like but like it did look like a not that it was a portrait, but like the slow mo definitely helped
right.
justify that.
Yeah, I think Zach likes conveying that kind of theme,
Yeah,
at least in these movies.
yeah, we
Um,
can definitely tell. Like going off of the end of Batman v Superman, that he likes his biblical art.
yeah, and that's how I described it to a friend of mine when I was talking about it once I had just finished. Like, like, what did you think of the movie? And I was like, it felt like a biblical experience. It felt like a biblical journey, um, but in a good way. I think sometimes it's a little too on the nose for
Mm.
Zach, or it's a little too edgy, a little too edgelord, or whatever.
Mm.
I felt like the R rating for this, it didn't feel like an R rating. Um,
No, I think it was just because of the end scene where they cut Steppenwolf's head off.
sure, yeah, there's that, and then I think the Green Lantern, one of the flashbacks, got his hand chopped off.
Yeah,
That was like
somebody
a bloody
says
thing.
fuck once maybe or shit or something like that.
Yeah, there's a couple Fs, and there's a couple. There's some bloody scenes, I guess, like when a parademon gets killed or something.
Mm-hmm.
But that was, it didn't even phase me. It felt kind of epic in a way, because sometimes you see some of the Marvel movies and it's like, this should be a visceral bloodbath of a scene, but like, they keep it PG for us, for all audiences, which is fair. But I like that differentiation, I guess, with these DC movies that Zack has made. It's like, and I want it to be different. I don't want to watch a Marvel movie when I watch this stuff.
Yeah.
I want to see something different, and this is definitely different. Like, this is not your average comic book movie, and it's not going to be the most traditional set of these characters that you've seen from the books. It's very much like a culmination of what they've always been, but like it's a new iteration, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think people have slowly grown to accept that, and that's part of like the hype behind this movie before it came out. Was the fan base was always there, but I think people, when this movie finally came out and the reception came and general audiences got to see it, the fans got to see it, I think people have finally accepted that Zack Snyder's vision is, it just is what it is. Like, this is the direction that he was going, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Batman kills some people. Like, Superman isn't a perfect being. You know what I mean? He makes mistakes. Uh, like the Cyborg. Like Cyborg has never been this in depth of a character, ever. Cyborg, what they did to Cyborg in the theatrical cut of 2017 should be criminal. Like he literally was like a huge piece of this movie, and they talked about, before the theatrical cut came out, Zach talked about like Cyborg's going to be the heart of this movie, and he really was. Like he really was. When you watch this, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's almost mind-boggling how Joss Whedon could recut Justice League to almost not include Cyborg at all. When in this film, he is pretty much not the main character, but he's definitely like the main driving force of the plot. You know?
Yeah, he supports the plot so much, and
Yeah.
in a great way too. Like nothing felt overdone. He had super emotional scenes. I
Mm-hmm.
think it showcased Ray Fisher as an actor incredibly well.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
and I think it showcased everybody as an actor incredibly well overall. But I mean, if anyone needed it going into this movie, it was either Ray Fisher or Jason Momoa, because they were probably the most unknown actors when this movie came out or was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to come out. But I mean, you know, how I just there's so many things in this that you could say I can't believe they cut that. But I mean, the cyborg thing is one of them. It's like you guys are nuts. You guys are nuts to allow that. Like,
Yeah, and you know what? I feel like, especially for me, I'm very much a fan of the original kind of lineup of the Justice League, or the more traditional one growing up, which has Green Lantern usually in place of Cyborg.
yeah,
Um, and I didn't necessarily feel going to this movie. I was like, I don't really like Cyborg that much. Like, I think he belongs in the Teen Titans. Like, that's where I enjoy him.
hmm
Um, but it feels like they, in my mind, I'm like, oh, they just added him because it's like a digital age MacGuffin that you can use. And
sure,
granted, they do use him for a lot of digital age random, but like this movie sells me, the Snyder Cut sells me on the fact that Cyborg is a character worth investing in
yeah,
at the Justice League level.
100%. I think a lot of people share that idea, and I definitely did too. Um, with Cyborg being a Teen Titans character, because the animated Teen Titans show definitely, like, for our generation, definitely set him up as that kind of, he belongs in that team.
Mm-hmm.
And for, I want to say, like 10 years, they've been trying to put Cyborg on the Justice League in the books.
Yeah, he was in the
Uh,
New 52 lineup, I think, right?
yeah, I think that's where it started.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, if I remember correctly, like audiences never really liked Cyborg on the Justice League in the books either. It was never something that people fully got behind. They never really did it with justice. Uh, no pun intended. But in this movie, it's like, you know, he fits. He fits completely with the team seamlessly.
Yeah.
It's like that's definitely a feat in itself. Seeing clips from like the theatrical cut now, it's like, you know, a lot of them don't mean anything. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of them are just kind of like tacked on, like they're not even really like character building. It's more of just like little quippy things, and like uh there's one thing in the theatrical cut where like Aquaman sits on the lasso,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
uh which was like uh kind of interesting. I didn't think that was bad in the theatrical cut,
No.
but it was definitely like it felt like an Avengers type of joke moment,
Yeah,
like
I feel like the jokes, extended to the entire cast in the director, the theatrical cut. But in the Snyder
yeah,
cut, the Flash pretty much maintains all of his jokes, but everyone else is just more serious.
yeah. And I remember watching the theatrical cut, and I thought to myself, like, I didn't like the Flash at all. Uh, he was definitely, I think he was like my least favorite character. Just because I didn't like the awkward kind of direction they went with it.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, after this, I was like way more into it. Um, maybe part of that was like uh, that huge shift in the third act where he gets that moment where he has to go back in time. You
Yeah,
know?
no, I agree. I think the Flash actually has much better, like in the ending battle, like much better focus. I think that him running. Okay, first he has actually the first part of the ending battle is trash for him because like he's just running in circles, and like it was honestly mind-bogglingly annoying how many times they cut back to him telling Cyborg that he can't do this.
Yeah.
Like, I get it if you cut, like, you cut to him once and he's like, "Listen, Cyborg, like, you got to do it now. I can't hold this." But they did it at least 4 times where he's like, "I can't hold this." Like, what the like? Oh my god! Like, such a mind-boggling waste of time. But then he gets shot, and you think like, "Okay, we're fucked." But it turns out getting shot doesn't even matter at all, because then he like speeds up his body's healing process to heal himself. But I agree. This, like, I think when he goes, he's like, I gotta run faster than the speed of light to go back in time.
Right.
Like, that scene was awesome,
It was so
except
good.
for the animation.
Oh yeah. Do you think
Yeah,
the background of the scene?
the background was fine. I think like the whole thing of like the CGI of the set reloading was really cool.
Yeah.
But the Flash just looks so stupid when he's running. Like, I can't
Oh,
tell if it's,
I think that's Ezra Miller's choice. Are you talking about it like his arms flailing and stuff like that?
yeah,
Like,
but he's running like you can tell that it is CGI with his arms. Like,
yeah.
it's like they're modifying it to make it look like spaghetti. Like, his like noodly arms are just flopping around while he's running. It's like he's throwing things. Like, he's not running.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think I don't like the way that he runs. That's definitely like the weakest part of his character for me
Kind of
at this
rude.
point. It's like I think the moment was so great though. Like
It was a
the
cool
moment
moment.
like I think outweighs like that kind of one downside. And I think they set it up really well too, like with the whole thing with the mother box bringing Superman back
Hmm.
because he reversed time for a second right there to like make sure he got it like right on
Yeah.
time when it hit the water. So that was cool. They set it up really nicely. But yeah, I also think that's a negative. Is like his whole running style. Like it's kind of weird. But
Hmm.
I the moment was just so cool. And like
Yeah, no, I do think it was actually a very cool, like, him doing the run back in time to save everything after it's lost was an
that
awesome
whole
moment.
that whole moment where like the explosion happens and it's just him standing there and he's like, "You got to do it right now, Barry. Like this is it.
Yeah.
Like fuck it all, go." And like that whole moment where he just kind of like leans back and then pops it and goes. It's like, oh yeah, that's the Flash right there, man. Like that's when I was sold on it. I was like, yeah, dude, this is it.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree. That was definitely the like the flash moment of the film. I thought, because obviously we knew going into it that there was going to be like that Elseworld Joker scene,
yeah,
and I was just thinking, like, as soon as the bomb went off, it was going to jump to the Elseworld future, and then like the Flash was going to have to run back in time to stop it.
yeah,
But like, this scene where it's just like in the moment was so much cooler.
yeah.
It's just
I
really
agree.
awesome, and it's so much
I think
better
that.
than the like the old Russian family that was in the
Oh
theatrical
my
cut.
god, that was terrible compared to this.
That shit, every single scene of that, and that literally got like probably 10 minutes of screen time on that Russian family. I
Yeah,
hated them, and
it was terrible.
I'm so
And
glad that they're gone.
I I was watching. I remember watching this cut, and I was like, when Steppenwolf first gets to the power plant or
Yeah,
Chernobyl, and that's what I thought it was. It was Chernobyl. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
I
I,
think it's everything except the name, really.
yeah, basically. But he got there to the power plant or the nuke plant or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and he starts like building the nest or whatever.
Yeah,
And in my mind, I was like, wait a minute. Why was there a Russian family in the first one if this is Chernobyl? Like, isn't nobody supposed to live here?
there
Like, why
should
would they
be
be
some
saving a family?
Russians.
Like, that's what I was thinking in this cut when they first got there to that location. I was
Yeah,
like, why would there ever be a family living in this area? Like, this is supposed to be Chernobyl, no? Like that was what I took away. But what a dumb idea they did. They bought they the disrespect to Zack Snyder is ridiculous.
yeah,
Like,
that whole scene was so. Every single scene they did multiple. It was too much. It was so stupid. That plot line was
yeah,
stupid. And then it turned that entire end fight into Barry just moving that family, even though they were already trying to leave.
moving a truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only like I remember in the theatrical cut, and I'm pretty sure we were in the theater together watching it
Hmm.
because I remember when they pulled the boxes apart,
Yeah.
uh, Superman and Cyborg, it blew up, and then uh, they made a joke out of it because it blew up, and Superman was like, "I wish I was still dead."
Yeah. You know
Like
what?
that was just like some funny like kind of dark humor,
I do
and
actually miss that from this cut.
that was like because we like that's the kind of humor we get off on.
Yeah.
Like,
Like that shit
wish
was
I was
funny
dead.
as fuck.
Yeah, that was like probably the funniest joke of the original one,
Hmm.
and it wasn't in this, but at the same time, I'm okay with it because it still worked. Like it didn't miss a beat.
That actually brings me back to a good point. So this is a difference from the Snyder cut to the theatrical version, which is the reason that Superman needs to come back, right?
Yeah,
And in the theatrical cut, the reason that Superman needs to be there is because no one else can lead the team. Like Superman's
yeah.
the only natural leader, which is crap. Because Batman leads the fucking team anyway. Like,
That's a baseless like
yeah.
argument.
Like
So
even if,
yes, I
you know,
agree.
in the Justice League, like, yeah, Superman does actually like lead the team. But like just because you sit in the fucking end of the table doesn't mean Batman ain't running the fucking logistics. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I
exactly.
mean? But anyway, like the reason that they need him in the Snyder cut makes way more sense. And again, why did we cut that? And the reason in the Snyder cut is that a Kryptonian is strong enough to just eviscerate Steppenwolf, and the mother boxes know it. And if Superman is alive, like if there was a Green Lantern, and this also justifies the Green Lantern thing, like if
Yeah,
there was a Green Lantern on the planet, if there's a Kryptonian on the planet, do not activate because I can't fuck with Kryptonians and I can't fuck with the fucking Green Lantern Corps.
right,
So like as soon as he comes back, the mother boxes are like, we're fucked. And
right.
Steppenwolf's like, we're fucked.
I think that makes the plot so much stronger
Oh,
too.
sick.
Like, and the fact that you know, not only does it trigger the mother boxes in the beginning, and like it makes that whole opening scene that's like pulled from BVS where like he's dying and like it's like the whole opening scene is like Superman screaming out and his roar of pain is heard around the world. That
Mm-hmm.
was crazy.
Yeah, it
That
was
was sick.
crazy,
I was
crazy.
oh, I was immediately like this is so much better already. I don't give a fuck. Like that was sick. And then the fact that the team didn't know that it like they kind of just like stumbled upon like oh these things could bring Superman back probably, and then they're like oh we're doing it like we need him like
Mm-hmm.
of course like that I feel like that makes the team so much stronger as a whole
Yeah, I agree.
because they like just collectively pretty much collectively other than Aquaman everyone's like we got to do this and especially Batman like it makes sense Batman would want to bring it back for that um but I think it also made sense that Aquaman was the one to step up and say, "I don't know if this is a good idea. This may not work." I remember too in the theatrical cut, Aquaman like was kind of a dick half the time. Like he was just like he kind of reminded me of like Thor because he just kind of like throws shit around when he's pissed off and
Mm-hmm.
like uh he said some like slick shit to Cyborg too in the theatrical cut, and in this one he sympathizes with Cyborg. He's like, "This guy just lost his dad, and we want him to come do all this shit for us right now. Like,
Yeah.
give him a minute." And it's like, yes, like that's
Yeah.
realistic.
He's
Please,
he's much less of a dick, which he,
yeah,
you know, to be fair, he still definitely is. Like I still think it is beyond weird that he pollutes the ocean. Like
yeah. That's definitely a weird thing.
like
But
when he
also, like,
throws the vodka bottle into the fucking ocean or whatever. So I guess we should talk about, you know, like the movie ends, and to me, you know, obviously based on like the part system that Zack Snyder created, this is just in the epilogue. But I
yeah,
genuinely believe that this scene should have been like the post credit scene, even though it's rather long.
I agree.
But I think this would be like awesome as the first post credit scene. And
Yes,
you know, this first of all crazy because just Zack Snyder is plotting out 3 movies in this case, and what's really cool is that we find out that he has decided to go the route of the Injustice storyline, which is from the awesome and amazing Justice League or Injustice fighting games.
yes,
But so basically, like Lois Lane gets killed, usually by the Joker, but probably not in this case. and then Superman just snaps and he takes over the world, and it looks like he does it at the behest of Darkseid.
Right.
So we're in like this post-apocalyptic future where Aquaman's already dead. Flash is in like some sort of cool mech suit. Flash.
He's in the suit that he was in BVS when he
Yes,
comes back and sees Bruce.
that's true.
And I was watching when I was watching this movie, I was watching it with a friend,
Mhm.
and the Flash showed up on screen, and he was like, "Who the fuck is that?" I was like, "That's the Flash." And he was like, "What? How?" Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah,
And then Marrow was cool, but I don't give a fuck about Amber Heard, so like get out of here.
yeah,
Replace the actress rather. But it was good, and like Deathstroke is there, and they're all teamed up. And then we get the really, really, really good Joker, Jared Leto, killed it.
yeah.
He
Man,
murdered it.
stepped up. I think I agree. This scene should have been an after credits scene
Yeah,
because I think it kind of it chops the flow of the end of the movie a bit because it does feel a little tacked on.
yeah, it does.
But I understand the inclusion of this and why Zach wanted to put this in because he had his reasons of like I want a scene with Batman and Joker in this universe because if I never get the chance to do it, then I'm gonna feel bad that I never did. You know,
Yeah,
and this whole like ragtag team that Batman put together for this apocalyptic thing looks sick. It looks so good, and I want to see it. Uh, but this scene with him and Joker, this talk, it was really good. Like I enjoyed it a lot. Like I've seen some people who are like, oh well, I'm still not sold on Jared Leto. It's like, but it's Jared Leto's doing more than he ever did. And I've always said this since Suicide Squad came out. When they chopped his role down, I
yeah,
said, if Jared Leto had more time, I guarantee he'd be pretty fucking sick in his own way.
yeah.
And he
I
is.
genuinely believe after watching that one scene, like, there's no way that you can say that this isn't a good performance from Jared Leto as a Joker. Like,
Yeah.
it's so good. It's dark. Like, it's insane. When he
Oh yeah.
he straight up goes up to Batman and he's like, "I killed your son, you dumb idiot." And it's great.
It's pretty crazy, and like I'd be interested to see in the sequel how kind of Batman comes to the conclusion like I'm gonna spring the Joker because regardless he's gonna be like he's gonna be helpful to us in a certain way
Yeah, we need
because you would
everyone.
think like how the fuck is the Joker gonna survive out here in this wasteland, this Mad Max style shit?
I mean,
You
that's
know,
where the Joker thrives.
I guess, but I don't know. If Superman's like flying around the planet looking for anybody just to
Yeah.
murder, like I don't know. I don't know how
Well,
long the Joker would last. I mean, he's definitely like a little, you know,
yeah.
he's a
So
bit of a scurry kind of guy. I don't know.
that's what happens in the original Injustice line is that Lois Lane is killed by the Joker, and
Right.
then Superman snaps and kills the Joker, and then decides to just kill everyone else for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
So seeing him alive begs the question. Most like I would assume. I really don't even know because he works for Darkseid, so it's like who killed Lois Lane? That's the real
I'm
question.
gonna. I think it's under the impression that Darkseid kills her.
Then why would
But
he
then
serve
it's like,
Darkseid?
why would he work for
Yeah.
Darkseid, right? Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I
Mhm.
mean, I've seen some drafts of Snyder put out like the storyboards and stuff of what was supposed to happen in the 2 and 3. And granted, those were all outlines and storyboards written before this was even, the initial movie wasn't even shot yet.
Mhm.
There was like a whole plot line with like Bruce and Lois were together after Superman died, which I don't think is the case because you could see in this version, like in this cut, that like there's no hint or recollection of them even interacting
Yeah.
while Superman was gone. Uh, but I don't know. But maybe Superman just has nothing to live for anymore. Like
Mhm.
Lois is his last thing. Maybe Ma Kent also gets killed. I'm sure she does. She's
Martha.
like, yeah, old Martha. Uh, my another thought I had during this nightmare scene, because after Martian Manhunter shows up,
Mhm.
when Bruce wakes up, and I was like, I remember when the nightmare scene came on, I was like, how the fuck did we get here? Like, it's a very weird cut into it. Like,
Yeah,
it
I
just
agree.
starts happening. But then like, it finally gets to Bruce waking up. I was like, all right, thank God. It's like Bruce actually dreaming, because I'd be like, why the fuck are we even here right now? They would have
Yeah,
killed it.
the intro to the
But
scene definitely needed something better. Honest, and I think people might not like this take because it's always fun to see new things. But I think the Martian Manhunter shouldn't be a part of this movie at all.
that's
And
fair.
I think that instead, it just should have honestly been like, even if it's after the battle, like he's just talking to Diana, even. And he's
Yeah.
just like, I'm still, like, I still feel like I'm missing something. And then, like, he either has the vision or he's like, I've had this vision. And Diana's like, explain it to me. And then, like, it kind of like fades into the scene.
Mm,
Because the Martian Manhunter only comes around for like two reasons. And the first time didn't really need to be Martian Manhunter at all, but why not?
yeah.
And then the second time, he's literally just like, some people call me Martian Manhunter.
I was ready for him to be like John Jones,
Yeah, but then
because that's like his human name. But it's like,
yeah, I
he
thought he
just
was gonna reveal like that he was in the army and like maybe Batman knew who that was.
well, he is. He's the general from the
Yeah,
other Superman movies.
but I'm just saying I
That
don't think Batman met him.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, but then
It's
he's
I
just
thought it
like,
was weird when he first showed up, and like he was Ma Kent talking to Lois,
yeah,
and then she leaves the apartment, or he rather leaves the apartment, and then it's him, and it's like, what? It's like cool, but also
why?
why is he talking to Lois? Like I guess he knows, like he also has these visions, or has
Yeah,
an
he
idea
can
that
see the
Lois is
future.
like the key or whatever. The biggest the biggest, like, I guess positive you could say about this being the end is like at least they put the epilogue, card before all this happened.
Hmm.
But I agree, it's very just like, huh? Bruce, you're okay with just like Superman showed up and you were ready to fucking put him in the dirt, and now this
Yeah,
guy's here and he looks way more like
yeah. Also,
Martian
the
Manhunter looks
fact
way scarier than Superman does.
my
Like,
man is a literal Martian. He's like a
yeah,
fucking. He's green and like his suit looks like it's his skin. Like he's just a thing.
it's pretty crazy. Yeah,
Bruce is just like, yeah.
I don't know. I think that pretty much wraps up my thoughts about it. But
Yeah,
overall, really, really fucking good. Uh, I'm really happy that it happened. I'm really happy that Zach got the opportunity. They didn't just shun him away.
I agree.
Um, the story behind this whole cut coming out is just as interesting as the actual cut, I think,
Hmm.
if not more. But I just hope that the the CEO or the head of Warner Media came out already and said, "We're done with the Zack Snyder verse. We're moving on with our other projects." Uh, so this whole thing is kind of in the hands of HBO Max now, but I really hope it gets continued, because this is the first thing DC has finally put out where the majority of audiences are like, "Yes, this is good." You know?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like this was definitely much more on the side of like this could have been the first Avengers movie and like
Right.
actually put it on a proper course. Like it wasn't
I
great. It was definitely worse than the original Avengers in
Yeah,
like setting it up, but it was way better. It was like passable.
sure.
It
To
was
me,
much
it
more.
reaches those same heights, but in a different way. Like it's nowhere near that movie,
Mm,
uh, and it's not as good as that movie. But I think in the grand scheme of things, it reaches those heights of like success, and like we finally did it.
yeah.
Um, I feel like over the years, as ever since Man of Steel came out and all these DC movies have been happening with Zach in charge, being a DC fan has been really fucking hard. Supporting these movies, because I could have told you 6 years ago when the extended cut of Batman vs Superman came out, it's a lot better than the theatrical cut. I really really like it, and I think it really improves on the movie. Uh, but that's a lot easier said than done to get people to watch it and get involved. But
Yeah,
you know, this would have been it.
I agree. Well, I think that just about wraps up our thoughts on this film. If you guys have any, hot takes, you agree or disagree, maybe you haven't even seen it because it's just 4 hours long and you just came here for the spoilers. Let us know down in the comments. We're definitely excited to hear what other people are thinking about the Snyder Cut because there's kind of a barrier, just the time barrier to actually get to watch it. So
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely let us know in the comments what you guys think about it. Um, and if you want to see this continued, I want to see it continued. I think it'd be stupid to not keep going with this, but
yeah,
definitely let us know.
I don't see where they find the budget, but maybe it turns into some TV shows. But I just don't see it. Just that the actors are too big to bring them back for just HBO Max.
That's also a decent point. Yeah, we're gonna have to see what happens. It'll all come out in time. I
Yeah.
think. I think the momentum going right now for the whole project is pretty strong, but who knows? They said the Snyder Cut didn't exist, and look where that got us. So you never know. You never know what could happen these days.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the review. Hope you enjoyed the Snyder Cut. Uh, stay tuned this week. We're also going to be talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier. So we will see you in the next video.
Yep. Have a good one, guys.